Good afternoon, Chuck. Thanks for joining us today. You're the incoming chairman of the board of Hershey Foods, or Hershey, now the Hershey Company, and you had some great experiences with Bill Dearden. Would you mind sharing your memory of when you first met Bill?
I first met him when I was an investment banker at Goldman Sachs, and we were doing work for the Hershey Company, and he was the CEO, and quite a impressive fellow.
Well, I would agree with that. What was the work that Goldman Sachs and the Hershey Company were doing at the time?
We helped Hershey finance its growth. We helped them make the acquisition of Friendly's. We helped them make some pasta acquisitions, and ultimately we helped them with the recapitalization, which really allowed the company to grow and succeed from that point in 1984.
I've heard that that was a critical point of the company. Could you talk a little bit about the recapitalization?
Sure. The company had reached a point in its growth where it either needed to sell down shares and dilute the Milton Hershey Trust and give them a lack of control of the business, which was not part of Milton Hershey's plan, or it had to stop its growth. And Bill Dearden really was the leader that developed a plan to recapitalize the company to two classes of stock and to give the Milton Hershey Trust shares 10 votes for every share and give the other shareholders 1 vote for every share. That was a very complicated transaction. Bill Dearden insisted that the majority of the minority shareholders outside of the Milton Hershey Trust approved it, and also that the dividend would be differentiated so that the average shareholder would get a higher dividend than the Milton Hershey shares, but the Milton Hershey shares would have 10 votes.
Wow. It sounds like that put us on the road to where we are today at 13 or $15 billion.
Absolutely. And if you look at the statistics, I'll just show you two charts. Here is the stock price of Milton Hershey shares from 1984, that recapitalization date, in blue, until today, versus the Standard & Poor's 500. And you can see the Standard & Poor's is up 15 times, but the Hershey stock is up 30 times. This growth would not have been possible without the recapitalization, and Bill Dearden deserves full credit for making that happen. In addition, if someone had reinvested their dividends in Hershey stock, the stock was up 65 times since the recapitalization in 1984. And again, without the recapitalization, either the Hershey Trust shares would have been diluted down and the company would have ended up being sold, or the company would not have been able to continue its growth pattern and be a $14 or $15 billion endowment for the trust today.
Was that kind of recapitalization with the two classes of stock common in those days?
It was not. It was highly unusual, and the New York Stock Exchange had a rule, 1 share, 1 vote, and they would not violate that rule. And Bill Dearden insisted on seeing the head of the New York Stock Exchange, and he went to 1 Wall Street and met with the head of the New York Stock Exchange. I was very flattered and humbled and fortunate to be in the room with Ken Wolfe and Bill Dearden when he explained why this was so important to the company, so important to the trust, so important to him, so important to Milton Hershey, and all the kids that have benefited, as you did and as he did, from the school. And I was sitting on his left, and as he was explaining the importance of the school and Milton Hershey to him, a tear of pride came out of his eye and rolled down his cheek and literally sat on the peak of his cheek, a big tear. And I was sitting right next to him looking at it, and the tear was a tear of pride and of commitment and of dedication and of love and support for the school that he loved so much, the man that he loved so much, and the company that he worked so hard to create value for.
That's a story I've never heard before, although Bill has often said, or did often say, that he had to repay a debt to Mr. Hershey and to the company. How long were you able to work with Bill then after that?
Until he retired. I started working in the late 70s, and I worked through his retirement to work with Dick Zimmerman and and Ken Wolf after that.
Did
But
you
he
get-
left the company in a wonderful position.
Yeah, yes. We say millions to billions was his to his credit. Did you get to spend some time with him personally beyond the professional realm?
Had a few dinners and lunches with him. Never got real close to him. I would have loved to, but he was a very important guy, and I was a young banker. But he always treated me with respect, and when he spoke, you really knew he meant what he said.
Well, you're a very important guy, and thank you for doing this with us. When he worked with Goldman Sachs and you were there, what was your impression of him as a businessman, as a leader of the company?
He was a very forceful person. He was physically very, right out of central casting. He had that beautiful wavy white hair and that steely-eyed look, and he was a tough, fair, wonderful person. Stories reverberated around the street about him, and one story was that he really believed in doing things on time, and people missed an airplane with him on being on time, and he just took off without him, and nobody ever was late again. He was really he lived the principles that I think he learned at the Milton Hershey School, and he just was a man of his word. Everybody revered him, great integrity, and he cared about everyone. He was not an elitist. He treated people with great respect, but he was very demanding, and he got out of people the most and the best because people really wanted to impress him and succeed for him and do what he had asked.
I would agree with that, and I will tell you two quick things. One of my favorite pictures is of him sitting in the plant with a plant worker on a sort of empty cart that you would put chocolate on, just laughing and talking. And the other great story is told by some of his senior executives when he took over the company at his first staff meeting. He locked the door at the anointed hour and wouldn't let anybody in. And the chief counsel was out there and a few other people, and they weren't coming in. So it's a great story.
The recapitalization, this is another example. This is a beautiful memento that he gave us. This is a $500 million sale of Milton Hershey's trust stock in the company that, again, could not have happened if the recapitalization hadn't happened. So he really set up the ability. This $500 million obviously has been very helpful to thousands of kids since, and it wasn't the only time that the company was able to create liquidity for the Milton Hershey School, but it was a perfect example of his outstanding work.
Were you able to get a sense of Bill's leadership style with his own team when you observed them?
Yes. Ken Wolf and Bill Lear and Dick Zimmerman and all the people that worked for him. I spent a fair amount of time with all of them on financings and acquisitions and divestitures and strategic plans, and went before the board of directors, and it was very clear who ran the company, and it was very clear when you were delegated the task, you were to do it to your fullest capability and potential, and he rewarded you for it. And sometimes it was a pat on the back or a smile. Sometimes it was something more material than that, but pleasing Bill Dearden was something everybody wanted to do.
Yes, that's for sure. Were you involved at all when we began to diversify, when the company began to diversify friendly ice cream, some pasta things? Were you involved then?
Yes, we were hired by Bill Dearden and the company to help them acquire the Friendly's restaurant chain. And we also were hired to make a number of pasta acquisitions. The company bought 7 or 8 or 9 pasta companies over time. Many were purchased in the Bill Dearden era.
So Bill's legacy lives on in the community with the school and with the alumni. Do you get a sense now that you're at Hershey that people there know who Bill is or have an understanding of his importance in the company's history?
Not as much as they should. I think everybody knows Milton Hershey, and people talk about Milton Hershey as if he was there last year as opposed to dying in the mid-1940s. Bill Dearden is well known among the senior people and retirees and people that have lived in the community for a long time, but I don't think his legacy and his contribution to the company and to the school, frankly, is as known as it should be. It's been a number of decades now, but it should never be forgotten.
We would agree. In the community, Bill is known for his ethical behavior, his vision, strategic planning. What might be one of the things that stood out for you when you worked with Bill?
Just absolutely his integrity and he was a true north person. And when we were at the New York Stock Exchange, he was very passionate about why this had to be done. And then he turned dispassionate and he said, with all due respect, gentlemen, we've talked to the American Stock Exchange. We've talked to the over-the-counter exchange, which is now NASDAQ. Both of them would welcome us with open arms. We want to stay with you, but we are going to do this. And if you choose to support us, great. If you don't, we're going to have to do it anyway. So it was interesting to watch the emotion of his explanation of the importance of Milton Hershey and the school and the company to him, and then his ability to, in effect, turn on a dime and say, this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're doing it. And they fell in line, and they never delisted Hershey. They never approved the dual class of stock. They just kind of looked the other way. And Bill Dearden made that happen.
Yeah. As the incoming chair, what is one thing that you would hope that people would learn about or remember or understand about Bill Dearden that we in the Dearden Foundation could help perpetuate?
Do the right thing, grow the company, generate more profits and dividends and cash for the school so they can continue to do the great job that they do and the job that Milton Hershey left them to do, and just be proud of everything and everybody, and always treat everyone with the respect they deserve, no matter how senior or junior they are, because that's the way Bill Dearden was.
Certainly I'm sort of exhausted my questions, and I know you have another date, but I would say I would think we're in good shape with you coming in, so I think Bill would approve.
I'm very humbled to be a member of the Hershey board, and I think about Bill Dearden all the time, who I did know, and Milton Hershey, who I did not know, and I'm proud to be affiliated with this company. Everyone in this company is special.
Great. Thank you so much, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.